Hello, business writers. Um, just wanted to take a minute this morning. I guess it's afternoon at this point. I wanted to give you some reminders, some tips, some things to think about as you are approaching uh, final countdown to Tuesday when everybody's presentations have to be ready. So, what I'm going to do here this afternoon is uh, I'm going to give you a much more specific idea about the the ways that I'm going to evaluate, the criteria that I'm going to use in order to evaluate your presentations on Tuesday and Thursday. This is sort of a step-by-step thing to allow you to better understand exactly the kind of things I'm looking for, and then also the how the points and importance are distributed across there. So things you might want to focus on more than other things. Let's see. First thing, and I keep talking about this, is the time requirement. It's 12 to 14 minutes, and this is going to be the primary way that I measure your preparedness. Basically, there are going to be, I believe, 4 points at stake out of 40, so that's 10% of your grade, and you will either get all 4 or you will get 0, depending on whether or not you hit that 12 to 14 minute window. So that's really, really important. You guys got to have some sort of communication thing set up so you can handle that. All right. I'm also going to be taking a look at the your familiarity with the material. And what I mean by that is, how well do you know what you're talking about? How much have you internalized it so you can just talk to us about it instead of reading it from a note card or reading it from your slide or trying to recall it like you've memorized it. None of those ways are very effective presentation strategies. What you really need to do is internalize it so you can just have a conversation with us and present your information that way. I'll also be looking at, you'll also get a couple points just for meeting the deadline. If I ask your group to go and you're not ready, of course you'll lose those points. I'll be taking a look at the way you transition from one person to another in your group. And again, you guys have had tons of time to work on this, lots of time to practice. And what I'm going to be looking for in terms of transitions is that you do more than just say, okay, I'm done and here is Steve. And then Steve just starts talking. That's not a transition, that's more of a stopping and someone else starting. Transition actually means building a bridge, sort of helping us understand why you're going from one person to the next person, how the information that you just talked about, that you just presented, is relevant to the information that is about to be presented by the next person. That's what you got to have for your transitions. Otherwise, they're not really transitions at all. You're just taking turns. Sort of in that same vein, I'll be looking at how you handle your introduction and your conclusion. Now, the introduction, really, what you want to think about it in terms of just simply knowing what you're going to say over the course of the next 10, 12, 14 minutes, and just preparing us to hear that. What do we need to know about where you're headed with this information before you actually get started? So that's important, really important to keep in mind. You might want to hit a few of your key points. You might want to emphasize why this presentation is important in the first place, etc. All right, and of course, as always, we're going to be talking about you attitude. There's going to be lots of points at stake for you attitude. Have you made this relevant to your audience? That's the essential question. And just picking information that's relevant to your audience is much different than making it relevant to your audience. I want to hear the word you a lot. We need to hear You explaining explicitly, here's why this information is useful to you, here's how I hope that you find it useful, here's what I hope you end up doing about it. This is what I thought about you when I was doing my research, stuff like that. You really want to focus on the you attitude. We've been talking about that with every single assignment this semester. And to go along with that, there will also be plenty of points at stake for positive emphasis. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be presenting information on traffic and health and weather, and you got to be careful not to frame your information in terms of things that can go wrong. What you want to do is you want to, I mean, it's tricky because you need to know what to do in different situations, but you want to do as much as you can to minimize the negative, sort of accept that these things are part of the culture and the best way to handle them. But really, you don't want to seem scary, you don't want to seem like it's this negative thing that needs to be overcome. If anything, you want to neutralize it as much as you can. I'll also be taking a look at your body language and your eye contact. And this will have a lot to do with your preparedness, I guess. If you are constantly looking at your slide while you're talking, you're not looking at us, you're not looking at the audience. Are you standing around bored when you're not talking? Did you take a seat over to the side to get out of the way? When you're talking, do you seem confident and expressive? Do you use hand gestures? Things like that. Yeah, you want to think about that kind of stuff. Eye contact is key. All right. You do need to interact with your slides, but interacting with your slides does not mean talking to your slides. What it means is that you have some information that you want to present, and your slide needs to help you present that information, and in turn, you need to explain how the slide is helping you present your information. It goes much beyond just, here's my information, here's a picture of it. Or here's this picture, and this is what this is a picture of. You have to be much more interactive. They have to be much better integrated into your presentation than that. But again, we talked about ways of doing that. We read a chapter on slides. We read a chapter on visuals. So you shouldn't have any trouble with that. I'm also going to be looking at the relevance of your slide. Was this information really necessary to give us? Was it helpful? Was it closely tied in to the kind of thing you are presenting? Or would we be just as well off if we didn't have the slide? How exactly is this slide, the information on the slide, the words, the graphics, the image, whatever you have, how is that related to what you're trying to present? I'll also be asking if the slide's contents are relevant. Sorry, I just said that. If the slide's contents are professional, meaning, do you mess around with fonts? Do you try to have too much fun? Are you goofy? That kind of thing. Those kind of things aren't really going to be appropriate for this situation. Probably the simplest thing you're going to be able to take care of that I'll be taking a closer look at is making sure that your slides are readable, that we can understand all the information that we need from the back of the room. Is your is your font big enough? Is the detail of your picture blown up enough so that we can process whatever we're going to need to process? Things like that. You shouldn't be leaving people out in the back of the room just because they're far back there. And then, of course, there are plenty of points at stake for the memo that your group puts together, as well as your task list. So there you have it. Hopefully you all show up on Tuesday prepared and ready to go. And between now and then, you all touch base with the rest of your group members and make sure you're ready to go. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.